Welcome to part 2 on how to write your personal statement. Part 1 is here if you've come to this video in the wrong order, but of course you don't have to watch that video first. If you don't want to, I would advise it, but you don't have to abide by the system. This video builds upon the first video, however, it has the benefit of hindsight in that now I have graduated from the University of Oxford as of 2 days ago. I went through the ceremony then, and I'm going to be answering in this question the 3 most common questions that I get from all of you guys who've been watching these videos, and those are: what should I write about, how should I write about it, and how do I cut down my character count? I'm going to be going through each of these questions in turn, so sit back, relax, and if you do have any questions or comments, make sure to post them down below. So on the first point, what should you write about? I get asked this question a lot, and there is a very simple formula that one can use to decide whether or not something is relevant to include in one's personal statement. If you think through what a personal statement is, it becomes quite clear. So you are applying for a place on a course at a university. If you abstract from that, in its essence, it's just you're applying for a position that someone needs someone to fulfill. They have a set of criteria that they have written down that they look for in the individual to fulfill that position best. For a degree, the criteria is in what the degree entails, what it is you'll be studying, whether or not you have the interest and the qualifications and the academic rigor and skills necessary to be able to fulfill that course. So with criteria, there are indicators. Indicators, well, they indicate whether or not you are close in line with fulfilling these criteria that they are looking for. So, for instance, you must be able to drive a car, and you have a driving license. The driving license is an indicator that you have the necessary qualifications and the necessary skill level to be able to drive a car. It is exactly the same with when you're writing your personal statement. Everything that you write about should be an indicator of what it is that they are looking for from a strong candidate. So loads of people ask me, should I include all of these books? Should I include all of these extracurricular activities? Are they relevant? That is the exact question you should be asking yourself. Are they relevant? Are these things that you've been asking me, are they good indicators of the skills that they are looking for in a strong applicant? So for instance, if you want to say that you can eat 5 Oreos in 30 seconds, that's not a very good indicator that you have very good communication skills, is it? However, if you were the head debater at your debating society, that clearly is a pretty good indicator that you have very good abilities at constructing arguments cohesively and communicating clearly, and also thinking on the spot and laterally, which is a very, very strong indicator of the skills that individuals look for when they are going through candidate applications. If you're unsure as to whether one of your experiences that you want to include in your personal statement immediately conveys that you have the necessary skills and that it is a good indicator of those skills, then just explain it. So you might say, I was head boy of my school. The person reading this is going, okay, that's nice. If you then follow that up with, whereby I did an additional 20 hours per week voluntary work to help fundraise for blah blah blah, and we raised the most money of any year group ever. The tutor might think, okay, good. They can handle a very large workload, which means they'd be able to cope with what it is that we will throw at them when they arrive in first year. Oxford's an intense place, and you are here with this piece of example showing that you have a piece of experience that is a very, very strong indicator of you being able to cope with a large workload. You see what I mean? On an academic side of things, you might list 10 books. If I am a tutor and I'm reading that you have listed 10 books, I will go, okay, that's cool. So you can write lists. Great, and you've read a lot, but anyone can say that they've read a load of books, and it's not just the ability to read books that I'm looking for, it's what value did you get from those books. So instead of listing 10 books, say I read this one book in the many books that I have read, and it struck me as to be the most engaging and thoughtful book on this topic ever for these reasons. So I love reading novels for philosophy, so say for instance I put in my personal statement that I loved 1Q84 by Murakami, and I said that it was a fantastic exploration of personal identity and it really nailed home these particular issues, which I actually don't think are as important as the other issues that he puts in the sidelines. Academic tutor thinking, okay, novel way to approach this kind of academic text, and they clearly have an opinion on it. I could ask them about it later on, and also it clearly shows that they think critically about what they're reading, and maybe later on they're going to do a cross comparison between that and something else that they've read. So I might follow up with that by saying, hey, you know what? I also love the fact that he took a Humean line when he was doing this. I thought that that was the most accurate one, as opposed to adopting a Kantian line or a Lockean line for personal identity. Just as a note, your personal statement doesn't have to be as complex as that, but you get the point. You are showing that you've read the book, you're showing that it's a good indicator, you're showing what value you got from what you've read and what you've done and how it is directly related to being a great indicator of the criteria and the qualifications that they are looking for in a strong application. I really hope that is clear, because now we're moving on to how I should write about things. So I'm going to be explaining two different types of how you should write. One is the vocabulary that you use and how you construct your sentences, and the other side of things is kind of what I covered in the previous section. So to address the latter type first, a very simple structure that you can use for when you are writing about your experiences and what your value you're getting from your A-level courses or whatever is, what have you done? What did you get out of it that is relevant for the skills that they are looking for in strong applicants? And then as a bonus, don't do this all the time because otherwise your personal statement will get really long, link it to another bit of studying that you've done so that the text moves slowly, or think about what it is that you've learned critically. Is this an accurate way of thinking about things, or do you think that this is a poor way of thinking about things? So you might say that your maths and chemistry A-level allowed you to think analytically about problems, and this ability to be able to abstract has come in extremely handy when you are going through arguments in literary texts. Then you link it perfectly into the next paragraph where you start talking about the literary text that you abstracted from based on the skills that you got from your A-levels. I'm going light on the 4 examples because in the first part I covered that in more depth. This is to just give you a framework with which you can work with. Now we come to the first type of how you should write. You should write in simple sentences that are easily understood by the reader. Do not use verbose vocabulary because not everyone will know what you're talking about. For instance, if you don't know what the word verbose means, then you can't understand what it is I'm talking about, and I should have chose a different word. For instance, you should not use unnecessarily complicated words to convey your point. If you can say something in a simple way, say it in that way. Writing that is clear and has clarity and is easily understood is far more attractive than ones in which you use fancy words to try and convey your point that can then be misunderstood and no one actually knows what it is that you are saying. The tutors will be able to understand what you are saying, but will you, and will it be exactly what you wanted to say, and will it have no ambiguity in it? There is a fantastic piece on this by George Orwell, the guy who wrote 1984, and I will put it down in the description for you. It's all about how to go about writing academic pieces of text and why you should use simple language over more complex language, and he has loads of writing tips down there, so I will post it in the description for you and you guys can skim through that. I highly recommend you do it. This is what they gave us in first year when we started writing all of our essays for PPE, so it's something that even Oxford tutors recommend. And again, blowing the lines between what we're talking about in this vlog, we come to how to shorten your personal statement, which is very similar to how you should write. One of the ways in which you can shorten your personal statement is to look at what themes you have that run throughout your entire personal statement and trying to distill down what are the most impressive items or indicators that you have in your personal statement that really hammer home that you have the skill that they are looking for ticked. So if you have 3 different instances as to how you are a fantastic communicator and how you can juggle your workload fantastically, why don't you just pick the most single impressive one that makes the individual go, whoa, okay, cool, we got that, done. Moving on to the next criteria that I want to be looking for. There will be this frustrating moment when you're like, I want to say everything that I have because I don't want to miss out on this opportunity. Okay, cool, but think about it like a photographer. If I am a photographer and I show you 100 images, and I'm like, look at all these amazing images, and they're all basically the same, like they're very similar, it's just the frame is slightly different, or the lightings, I've been experimenting with my ISO, or the aperture, or the shutter speed, and as a person viewing these photographs, you're not that stimulated, right? You're kind of like, there's a lot of waffle in here. If I show you my single most impressive photo and just go, bang, look at this one I thought was the best, I think that you'll also really enjoy it, and I think it's exactly what you're looking for from the aesthetic pleasure that you seek in life. That is far more powerful, you say it far more succinctly and concisely, and you can then spend more time talking about other things that also tick off more boxes that the person is looking for in a strong applicant. This is also a great tip for shortening down your personal statement because you're only including the most important and impressive elements in your personal statement in the final draft. Also, distilling down is also extremely relevant for your introductions. I've read many introductions for personal statements that try to piece together why they want to do the degree that they're applying for, but they try and convey it in 4 or 5 sentences. Try and get it in 2. It's a challenge, I know. It's very hard to try and get things to be concise. There is an expression that says, if I had more time, I would have written you a shorter letter. It's the exact point. Great novels are not written, they are rewritten. So if you are not rewriting your personal statement, you're doing it wrong. I had about 6 drafts of my personal statement, and I was constantly getting feedback and reiterating on it and making things distilled down and shorter and really trying to capture what it is that I was trying to say. So if you're trying to figure out why it is that you want to study a particular subject, try and look at all the themes that constantly come up in all of the different examples I use. So, for instance, it might be that, hey, when I study English A-level, I really love the fact that I get to explore different cultures. And then with maths, I also might discover that I love thinking about things in an abstract way. And then there's also a theme in chemistry when I'm doing that as well. And I also love the fact that I can take something I know nothing about, apply all the previous knowledge I have, and then figure out how to solve the problem. Then with history, it might be that, oh wait, hold on, I actually love the way that I can understand all these different frameworks and how all these agents operate within this framework. And now I'm beginning to understand all these themes within the different subjects that I'm currently studying and how that then translates over to the degree that I want to read. From that distillation process is why you want to do the degree, and that makes for a great introduction because you've captured the essence of why you want to read that particular subject at university. So to summarise that section, write down everything that you want to write and then go through it and try and find the best pictures, the best indicators for the criteria that the individual is looking for that you can get from Googling what it takes to study that subject. There's loads of information on the Oxford University's website now, and also in the subject websites. And then from there, read through it, rewrite it. Really try to distill down why you want to do it, why is this a good indicator, what you got from this experience, and how it links to why you would be a great candidate for this course. And then rewrite, shorten your sentences, make things more clear, use the advice that George Orwell shared with us, and make your personal statement concise and a really tight piece of 4,000 characters. So there you go, I've shared with you what you should write, how you should write it, and how to cut down your personal statement. I hope that you found this helpful as the part 2 video on how to write your personal statement. Best of luck to everyone who is applying, and if you do have any questions or comments, please do post them down in the comments section below. I'll add some more information down in the description of this video, along with all the links that I have mentioned, and be sure to tweet me or any of the OxTweeters or the particular subject that you're applying for, and they or I will happily help you. If you're a subscriber to this channel, I will see you on Sunday for another fantastic video, if I do say so myself. See ya, best of luck, and yeah. I am now officially a graduate. The day started with getting up at 5:30 so we could make it to Oxford and anticipate any traffic that was going to be present, and then we eventually arrived at the auditorium to be prepped for what it is that we had to do to make sure that we don't trip up on our gowns or